What's happening? Andy here. I am joined today by Andrew Zwerner. Andrew is with CHASSI in, where are you guys? You guys are in Arizona, I believe?
That's right, Scottsdale, Arizona.
Scottsdale, Arizona. We know some other people in Scottsdale.
We do.
That's how we met, Mr. Somalio.
Right.
Not really understanding how retirement is working. He's still out there hustling and moving behind the scenes. But thank you so much for stopping by today and spending some time with me. And you guys have a real interesting story. I'd like to first find out how everything is in Arizona and find out a little bit about you. Tell me
Thanks,
about you.
Andy. Yeah, thanks so much for being here. Well, first, things in Arizona are great now that it's November 23rd and summer finally ended today. So the mercury's coming down. Things are all good. Yeah, I'm excited to be here and excited to share the story.
So you're with CHASSI, CHASSI. I'm going to put a link down underneath everything, underneath the description here below. But CHASSI, we were filming in a little earlier, 4-year-old company. You're a solutions-based company, right? And you're tying on to to my world, our world, the imaging industry, right? So you've got a product that fits in with imaging dealers. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on CHASSI? How the company started. Where you came from, the vision, and what you guys do.
Yeah, you got it. So what we do is what we're calling operational visibility. And so what that means is any business that has kind of tight processes and like a quote to cash process, you can think of any of the dealers in this channel. Those processes run on a system. Obviously, people are familiar with Forza, ECI, and then outside of the channel in the world, kind of writ large, ERP systems, right? And so what we do is we connect into one of those ERP systems for a business, and we gather all of the activity that every team member is doing inside of that ERP. So every click, every save, every edit, you name it, all of that activity, we gather that, we stream it out, and then we model it, and we provide an app back to a customer. So almost think of like Google Maps or Waze, where effectively we'll show a business like a dealership real time what's going on right now, who is doing what, where are we slow, where are the issues, did that sales order not get invoiced today, whatever it is, we provide that visibility in an intuitive, timely fashion so a business can kind of move from reactive to proactive. And particularly today, in light of COVID, we got distributed teams, understanding where people aren't on the office, is everyone doing what they need to be doing to affect the right outcome for the business? That's kind of where we're focused.
So I'm going to get into this a little bit more, but before I forget and we move on too far, I wanted to get some background. 4-year-old company,
Yep.
Who started it? Where did it come from? And how many people are working there?
Yeah, you got it. You got it. So we were founded by a gentleman named Brad Janenga. Brad is our executive chairman today. And Brad started a successful software company here in Phoenix area called WebPT. And they do electronic medical records for everything non-MD, speech therapists, physical therapists, et cetera. And he had great success with that business. He left that business a little while ago. I met him several years ago when I moved to Phoenix. We'll talk about my background at some other point, but I joined him originally as the COO in 2017. And for the first couple of years of the business, we were focused on providing the visibility I alluded to a different market. We're actually mostly looking at earlier stage software businesses. And then it was about the summer, fall of last year, I moved into the CEO role full time, and we pivoted the business into looking at discrete manufacturers and wholesale distributors running on ERPs. And then earlier this year, we started to kind of take a hard look at the imaging channel. And it was when I found Mike Stramalio, I think earlier this summer, I found him on LinkedIn because we're connected to SAP Business One. Mike with Forza is built on top of SAP Business One. He and I had a great conversation. He took a cold email from me out of the blue, and to his credit, decided to hop on a call. And it was pretty much a match from there. The pain we were solving, he understood it very well, particularly with a lot of the dealers in the space. And that's what kind of forced us to begin to really look at the channel throughout the summer and fall in a focused manner.
Well, it's funny, he does know just a little bit about ERP and, the MWA that eventually moved into All Covered and is now, a Forza product. That was his baby. And, I can only laugh and think that the response you got was probably at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, because I don't think he ever sleeps. So moving into the ERP, so it's a good channel for that. We are all, it's 1,000, 1,200 B2B companies, and all of them probably, if not all of them, are probably using these ERPs. So this is a dashboard, right, that allows these guys to basically look at, like you said, all different aspects of their business. So if I'm understanding correctly, I pick a screen, and now I'm looking at where are all my trucks, where are all my service guys, how far into the call are they, what parts are they on their trucks, and I can go in and get granular with these ERP systems, right? So it allows me, and I've heard dealers talk about what they love about it, what they love about Forza specifically. One of the dealers I was chatting with last year, he loves first thing in the morning being able to come in, sit down, and just scroll through the different segments of his business and know where he is versus where he was at this point yesterday, real-time data. So knowing the opportunity, the businesses are small, medium, what is it that you guys bring to the table? What is it that Chassis can help these guys do, specifically the guys that are on SAP Business One, which is something you alluded to that you connect into. So how can you help these guys?
So the first thing that we do that is unique, not just in this channel, but writ large in the ERP space, is the information that we gather. So the dashboards that we build, that we provide to a customer, think of it as like a Google Maps or a Waze, like almost dynamic real-time streaming. So we provide that, and we populate that with data that is not saved by an ERP system. And so in a normal ERP, that this sales order was completed at that time. What you don't know is how long did it take that worker from the time they started that sales order and they entered all the fields, and where were their edits, and where were they slow, and did they follow the process? Because the ERP doesn't gather all of that activity. We do. So think of us as almost like an IoT or a sensor solution, where anytime somebody is inside of that system, we gather that activity. We then make sense of it. So in our app, basically, any customer that's using Chassis, they will see what is happening by department, by team, all the way down to individual level in a streaming kind of high fidelity, full real-time view of their business. So, sorry, did you have a question?
No, it's interesting. So you're basically you're kind of putting an overlay on top. I'm clearly not the right terminology, right?
But no, that's the right way to think of it.
Copy rep, man. So you're gonna have to deal with my limited terminology.
No, that's the right way to think of it. Yeah.
So another layer on top that lets me dig a lot deeper into the data that I'm already mining, right? So I've already got the system in place. I've already got the infrastructure in place, but I'm just scratching the surface from what you're saying of what I could really dig into.
It's exactly right. You're just scratching the surface today without Chassis. Often we say you're blind and you're disoriented, right? And the disorientation is toward where could something go wrong? And that wrong might be an error entered into a form, or work isn't being done fast enough within a department. Whatever that looks like, you often don't know until a customer calls upset, or a service call wasn't done appropriately on time. Whatever that sort of materialization of the problem as it presents itself, you then, as the business, have to react and investigate and find out what went wrong. And so we want business leaders to be on the other side of that, where we say kind of left of incident or left of boom, where we show business leaders what's happening, every single person in the system, what are they doing, but also we give the context of what they've done historically. So when you know what good behavior looks like, as things are becoming off course, Chassis will alert that and provide those insights to a business leader, understand you should probably take a look at this, something's wrong in this department, or take corrective action in certain areas. And that allows a business to kind of put themselves in that proactive, we say firefighter instead of fire inspector, or fire inspector instead of firefighter.
Well, taking this to the next step, right, with what's going on now, and the fact that so many of the companies that that I'm covering, right, they're a lot of these guys are still partially remote. A lot of them are still fully
right.
Is it a good time to implement something like this? Is there additional information that might be useful to me if I'm trying to monitor people in different offices? Like what does Chassis bring to the table for?
So here's the thing. So imagine, every business leader that we speak to in this space, the first thing is, do you know what your team is doing right now?
Yeah.
Right. And you can never really answer that with, full authority and fidelity. You've got an idea and you look to your managers and directors, but nobody knows what every single person is doing right now. And further, are they doing what they need to be doing in order to meet the goals of the business that day, that month, that quarter, right? And so what we want to do is first at a very base level, be able to kind of provide visibility around that. What's going on, right? And then from what's going on, the next question is, okay, what do we do about it? Which is ultimately, that's on the business to decide. And so we don't like to think of it really as monitoring per se, but because if anything, if you are a worker working, you're entering sales orders for a dealership, for example, everyone wants their work to matter, right? And they want to be seen. They want their work to matter, and they want to contribute to the business and to the ultimate effort. That is the strategy that is decided by leadership or ownership of the business. And so much of what's missing today, this isn't specific to this channel, but a lot of businesses writ large, is connecting employee effort and performance to financial outcome, right? And so a lot of folks don't really understand how their effort contributes to the quarter or the year or what is happening in the business, right? So they just kind of focus on what they have to do. And so what we want to do is less monitor and more reveal and show the work that's being done. And then from there, you have a different conversation across your workforce where managers can see, all right, I understand my top performers, and empirically, I understand those who are struggling. And for those in the latter group, give them the opportunity to see, hey, here's where you're falling behind. If you do these things, you will be performing better. That opens up a different level of engagement from the worker. They understand in better context what they're being asked to do. And then there's a different paradigm in terms of where they see their contribution to the business and what that means for them personally. And so particularly when you've got a distributed workforce and people are working from home, not everyone's in the office, that's isolating, and you can be on an island, and that's hard to keep everybody actively engaged. And so that's one bit of friction that we hope to overcome with CHASSI, particularly in light of the timeliness of kind of all the circumstances in the market today.
That's amazing. You really can get lost in that data. So if I'm understanding this correct, right, it's not just that I'm looking at the dashboard, here's where my service guys are, here's where how many parts I have in inventory. This is the ability to go back in the sales process and look at, by salesperson, if you wanted to get this to this level, and say, the successful salesperson, the people who are hitting their number or exceeding their number every month, here's some common traits that we're finding.
Yes, exactly.
And not hitting those numbers, they're not exhibiting those traits. So maybe,
that's right.
Instead of just cutting these guys, right, and replacing them and starting the training process over, maybe we look at these characteristics and say, look, if you just did these 3 things like them, maybe you would be in this category.
That's exactly right. That's
data
exactly
is power, right? And you guys are providing. That's amazing. I've never, I never really considered how much more you could get out of the process like that. But just to put that in front of, the sales manager, the executive team, the principal, very, very interesting.
Think of it. So I heard this expression the other day: if a plant's not growing, do you throw out the plant or do you look at the environment? And so that's kind of what we're talking about. The first thing to do is look at the environment, if you will, right, in the business, and say, okay, if somebody's struggling, what are they struggling with? Right, specifically, where are they not following the training? Are they just moving slow? Are they not, taking up the heavy work? They're only doing the light, easy work items, whatever that looks like. And then where right looks like ideal, or your top performers looks like, then you have the opportunity to do things like kind of peer-to-peer training, or what we call, my previous role, right seat riding, right? And allow somebody to sit next to, or even virtually through a Zoom, hey, how are you entering those sales orders, right? Let's go through some business partner master data and let's see how you're doing that. Because what we found is there's the ideal process, and then there's what actually happens. And you could have 5 different people on the same team, and they're all supposed to be doing roughly this, similar thing, and they all have their own way of doing it, not just from a pathing standpoint.
But they're salespeople too, and if no one's sitting on them saying, do it this way, they get into a routine, right? And right or wrong, if nobody corrects them on it, they're going to keep doing it the way they want to do it.
It's human nature. That's right. It's human nature. And so ultimately, what we want to do is provide visibility around that. So it's that's where it's hyperbole, but you're going from blind to sighted. And so if you run that business and now you see by department or by team or by facility location or all the way down to the individual level, how did we do in this function last week, last month, and today, how are we doing? And then be able to drill in. If you're above, great. What's driving that performance? Who is driving that performance? If not, okay, the inverse of that, where are the issues? And then that allows the most important thing a business can do is kind of have that conversation, come together around, okay, this is an issue. Here's a plan to address that issue. Again, whether it's training, whether it's, hey, there's some automated workflows we're going to need to build in on top of Forza, whatever that is. The solutions are the same, but we help a business go from wide aperture, kind of back on their heels, what's happening, all the way into a narrow scope, this problem, this team right now, and it's reoccurring. And so our value prop is to empower the accuracy and the velocity of the decision-making of the leaders of these businesses. So when they realize something's going wrong, they can address it more certainly and put something in place to make sure that the train doesn't go off the tracks again, as it were.
That sounds awesome. First of all, nice use of the what's happening right there. I love that. Always. But, just as we wind down, where are people going to find you? Obviously, I'll put some contact information down here. I know you did a really nice webinar a week or two ago with Workflow Magazine, Patricia. Great webinar.
Yeah.
Parts of that. And then what's the latest? You joined BTA, right? So you may be the newest member of BTA.
Yeah, I think we are. We are, as of a couple of weeks ago, we're the newest BTA member.
Welcome aboard. We've been members as long as I can remember, way longer than I've been working for this company. So, great organization. They're they've got to be closing in on 95 years old right now. A great B2B organization. So welcome aboard to that. And that's a great place for you to be. So, all of you BTA members, if you're watching this, when you're watching this, just get in touch with me. I'll get you in touch with Andrew. We'll put some contact information for the company down there. Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time to tell us about CHASSI. And I have to say, I have not heard, it's truly unique. I work with some ERP companies. I haven't heard anybody that goes down to the level that to pull the data that you guys are doing. It's really, I thought, very interesting. I will say that, usually I only interview people I work with, and you guys are not paying me to say this. This is actually a freebie. And, I'm just here to just get some news out there and show the BTA members, some of the new products, new programs that are coming out that they're not seeing at the conferences that they can't go to right now. Right. So you were frozen there for a minute, but I assure you.
I'm back. We're good.
Okay. I assure you what I said was amazing. So, but anyway, we will have you back on and down the road, probably early on in, maybe get through the winter and start.
That'd be great.
Spring, maybe somewhere under the winter, spring, and just, see where everyone is with CHASSI and the evolution. But welcome to our little weirdo community and the world of print. And, we look forward to covering you over the years. Thanks for taking the time, Andrew. Any last shout outs to anybody?
Just a shout out to Mike Stramalio for getting us in contact in the first place. And a thanks to you, Andy. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with you. And we're very excited about you. Referred to it as a weird community. All I found is a bunch of wonderful people.
They're my buddies, but I'm an ex-copier guy, so I can say this, but there's a lot of people in this business that, probably should have studied a little harder in school. And that's why we wound up selling copiers, but we're the most social group of people out there. And once we get to meetings, you will see that these are fun people. They're great people. They're always willing to get behind a charity, behind very special ones, and just welcome to the community. It's a great place to be, and I love working in it every day of my life. So you take care, and we will follow up soon, Andrew. Great meeting.
Thanks, Andy.
Take care. Bye bye.
All right.